All right.
Open up a beer and you say get over here and play a video game.
Play a video game.
I'm in his favorite sundress, watching me
Lana
get
Del Rey
undressed.
video
Nobody
game. Know this tune?
downtown. I say you the bestest,
Why in the
leaning
world am I
for a
playing
big
Lana Del Rey
kiss,
video
put his
game?
favorite perfume
Well,
on. Go play your video game.
I have a reason.
It's you, it's
The
all
reason I'm
you,
playing Lana Del
everything.
Rey video game, well, not anymore, is because a lot of researchers have suggested that perhaps we should focus on IGD, internet gaming disorder, video game addiction, as its own category of internet addiction deserving of its own unique attention, clinically and in terms of empirical research. Well, why would they think such a thing? There is scholarship on, quote, gaming overuse that began as early as the 1980s. In fact, the first article on the topic referred to junk time junkies. That's what they called people who were involved in gaming overuse. Of course, in the 80s, video games were much less sophisticated than they are today. Trust me on this one, because I'm not old enough to know that, but I do know that. Anyway, studies that compare different types of online behaviors show that gaming is consistently the activity most strongly associated with compulsive or problematic use of the internet. The DSM-5, in fact, summarized internet gaming disorder as, quote, the persistent and recurrent use of the internet to engage in games, often with other players, leading to clinically significant impairment or distress, as indicated by 5 or more out of 9 proposed items, which are on the next slide. So I'm going to talk about that before I come back to this slide. Proposed criteria, slide 12, proposed criteria for internet gaming disorder. This was proposed by the American Psychological Association work group for DSM-5 when they were trying to think about whether or not to include internet gaming disorder as a bona fide diagnosis. And here's what they came up with. Repetitive use of internet-based games, often with multiplayers. No, that's a mix between me thinking other players and multiplayer games. Other players or multiplayer online gaming that leads to significant issues in functioning. 5 of the following criteria must be met within a year, they propose, to qualify for internet gaming disorder. A, preoccupation or obsession with internet games. B, withdrawal when not playing internet games. So again, we're back to withdrawal intolerance because C, a buildup of tolerance. More time needs to be spent playing the games than before. D, the person has tried to stop playing the games or curb their involvement in playing with the games, meaning lower their involvement, but has failed to do so. E, the person has had a loss of interest in other life activities, such as other hobbies, like maybe they used to also like to run. Maybe they also used to like to go bowling with friends, things like that. F, the person has had continued overuse of internet games, even with the knowledge of how much it is impacting their lives. So again, they know, consciously they're aware, shit, I didn't do that assignment again because I've been playing internet games for 12 hours. Or shit, I have to get up for work tomorrow and I have to make a presentation, but I'm not going to sleep because I was up all night playing video games, etc., etc. G, the person has lied to others about his or her internet game usage. So again, kind of like people with alcohol and substance disorders. I only had 2 beers when they really had 20. The person might say, oh no, I got all that work done. I was just on the internet playing, World of Warcraft or whatever it's called, for, an hour when it was really like, 20 hours. H, the person uses the internet gaming experience to relieve anxiety or guilt. In other words, escapism, which I talked to earlier in this lecture. And finally, I, the person has lost or put at risk an opportunity or relationship because of internet gaming. And I mentioned what that means before in the context of internet addiction, right? So you were offered a job, but you missed the opportunity to get the interview because you were too busy on internet gaming and didn't even respond to the email saying you got an interview. things like that. Okay, so let's go back to slide 11. Those were the proposed criteria from the DSM-5 from the work group. Some researchers have even found descriptions of, this is not common, so I just want to say that, game-induced seizure states and media reports of game-induced deaths. Now, careful, careful, careful. Hold on. I don't want the takeaway from this to be if I play too much Call of Duty online, I'm going to have a seizure and die. Here's where correlation and cause comes into play, right? So probably in these cases, the game-induced seizures could be something like people had an underlying neurobiological disorder that puts them at risk for seizures, and the constant gaming engaged parts of their brain, or even the internet access in terms of screen time created a greater likelihood of having a seizure and or dying from a seizure. So, we have to be careful with what we take away from this. Correlation, not cause. Finally, internet gaming disorder has been linked to depression. Again, correlation, be careful, 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 because maybe people who are experiencing high levels of depression rely on escapism through internet gaming, not that internet gaming causes depression. And we have to be careful with that, but they are related. Social difficulties are associated with internet gaming. Again, could be people who have difficulties in social engagement in real life escape through online personas, like I talked about in an earlier video. Internet gaming disorder has also been linked to ADHD, or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and substance abuse. Now, again, correlation is not cause. In terms of ADHD, people have difficulty sustaining attention and controlling impulses, and that can be linked to any form of impulse-related types of behaviors or addictive behaviors. Substance abuse, similar kind of thing. We know people who have addictive disorders may also have comorbid other types of addictive disorder characteristics, or even addictive personalities per se. So these are correlated and they're provocative, but let's be careful about the difference between correlation and cause. I'm going to come back to you on another video. I'm going to stop there.